following is a special CVBT audio interview. Now here's Brent Gill.
Good morning to you. This is Brent Gill. I am talking to a very pretty lady in Canada by the name of Kim Staffland. Good morning, Kim.
Good morning, Brent. How are you today?
I am excellent. How is Kim doing?
I'm doing well, thank you. And it's always nice to talk to you. Thank you for the opportunity.
Hey, I love to hear about the books that you are putting out because as an author, as a writer, your subject is something that is very, very interesting to me. Your latest book now, Kim, is called I'm not saying that right, T-shaped marketing for authors.
Yes.
T-shaped marketing. Now, you're not talking about iced tea or hot tea. You're talking about something very different. Explain what you mean, Kim.
Yes. So, T-shaped marketing for authors. It's a book about to teach authors specifically internet marketing. And so T-shaped marketing, though, is a term that is fairly new, and what it represents, I'm going to read a quote for you, just a really brief excerpt from the book, because there's a man named Rand Fishkin, who is the co-founder of Moz, and he created this really succinct description of T-shaped marketing. So basically, T-shaped refers to having a light level of knowledge in a broad array of skills and a deep knowledgeability in a single one or few. So just to give you a bit of an example, if you can imagine a T inside of your mind, so the deep knowledge and ability is the stem of the T. That's the content of your book. Whereas the flat horizontal part of that T represents all the various creative and analytical skills that you can learn to best utilize the internet in selling your book. And I talk about those skills, some of those skills within this book.
Okay, now that brings up a question that I have. Now, the book that I am writing, and I'll use my experience as a sounding board for you, but the book that I am writing is fiction. It is following something that happened to me, but it is fictionalizing it, making it a little different.
Yeah.
So what you describe, what I read in Rand Fishkin's comment, is a broad array of skills and a deep knowledge in a single one. But we're not talking about skills here, we're talking about a story. So will this concept work for someone who is creating a piece of fiction rather than a piece of how-to material?
Yes, it absolutely will. It'll work for fiction and for nonfiction. And I actually give examples in this book of two different authors. One that has had tremendous success on selling his books, his fictional novels, using T-shaped marketing. And then, of course, I talk about my own experiences selling nonfiction using T-shaped marketing. I also talk about the different types of marketing that you can use in terms of whether you're selling using value-based marketing and price-based marketing. And just to kind of speak a little bit more to your fictional novel, for anyone who's questioning this, the example author that I use in this book, in 2015, he was earning $450,000 a year selling his fictional novels.
Holy cow, that's better than your average bear.
Let me put it to you this way. He makes more than the President of the United States.
Yeah, I hear you. Okay.
So it works.
Yeah. All right. Now, you talked about two types of value, price-based and value-based.
Yeah.
Now, I'm going to paraphrase because that's not necessarily the accurate description, and I want you to pick apart what I say here. Okay. Price-based marketing means selling it to somebody for cheap. And yes. Value-based marketing says, I don't care what it costs, I want it. Now, explain what I've said or counteract what I have said.
So price-based marketing is, yes, it's selling things at the lowest possible price and trying to undercut the competition using price. and that's kind of the selling platform that you use to sell to more customers. And that works for some people, and that works for example, Walmart.
Okay.
Value-based marketing, you're after a completely different audience. And to use an extreme example, just because when you use extreme examples, it makes it really instantly easy to understand. Prada. So they're a worldwide luxury retailer, and they use value-based marketing. And value-based marketing is concerned with, you're dealing with people who are concerned with workmanship, expertise, long-term durability, and also image as well. That's important to somebody. So they're willing to pay more money for that. So you can apply either price-based marketing or value-based marketing to selling everything and anything along the spectrum. Cars, coffee, food, and even books. So I've
Now,
spent the
okay.
last few years trying to, tell authors about that, and a lot of them think the best way to sell a book is just to price it cheap, and that's not necessarily the case.
Well, for a new author, a unpublished or seldom published or once published author, whatever, it would seem that value-based marketing would be very hard to utilize because you aren't known well enough that what you are selling, your book, is or has appropriate value or desirable value. Maybe that's the word I'm looking for.
And that's the misconception that a lot of authors, particularly new authors, make. They think, I'm a new author, I'm not valuable. It's not about you. It's about your book and the content and what your readers are after, and whether or not your readers see value in that. And you and I talked last year. You and I had an interview last year for my book, Successful Selling Tips for Introverted Authors. I go into a lot more detail with that book. I actually break it down, and in that book I show people how to sell an audiobook, ebook, paperback, and hardcover. I show 2 examples of price-based and 2 examples of value-based to kind of get across to people that it's not about you as an author, it's about the content of your book and what it means to the reader. And it's also, more than anything, it's about what does your reader want? What kind of language are they going to respond to more quickly? Price-based language, which sounds like this. I'll go back here. Price-based language sounds like have what you want for less, the affordable solution for thrifty customers. Value-based language sounds more like this. Sophistication and classical style for discerning women, crafted with care for the distinguished gentleman. So those are just 2 different examples of different ways you can speak to people. And you need to speak to your audience in the way that, in their language, if you want to sell to them.
Now, one of the hardest things to do sometimes, or at least it has appeared to me, is to define the audience that you're reaching for. Sometimes what an author thinks is his audience may not really be the correct or end audience. Can you speak to that a little bit?
And that is the beauty of the internet and T-shaped marketing. Because one of the components at the top of that T is learning how to utilize keywords for search engine optimization. So in the traditional way of marketing, you would say, okay, my book appeals to boys and girls aged, 9 to 16 or whatever, and you would differentiate kind of that way with a demographic. So with T-shaped marketing, what you do, and this is the beauty of selling books online as well, is that all of the different keywords within your book are searchable online. So when somebody is going into Google and they're typing in a certain phrase, which is called a keyword, to try and find something, it can bring up your book as well. So maybe that ends up being somebody that is a little bit outside of the age range that you thought. That's okay. So again, T-shaped, you're reaching people in a different way. It's not the traditional way of selling books anymore, and it works wonderful.
Well, the entire concept of the information available on the internet has changed the way literally the way we live. As an example, I can't tell you how many times I've been in a conversation with somebody or a group of somebody's, and something comes up and they say, I wonder when that was made or when that movie appeared. I've reached into my pocket, grabbed my cell phone, go to the
Yes.
web browser, go to the top, type in what I want to know, uh, year of appearance of the time machine,
And you
and
find it
I can't
instantly.
tell you how many times I've come up with the answer.
Yeah.
And so that part of it is knowing what to type, knowing what to use as a search uh, uh, method.
Yeah.
How does a an author who may or may not be tremendously fluent with the internet or the computer, how do they know what keywords to put into their information or their titles or their headings that will attract search engines?
Well, you can do different tests and things. So there's kind of a two-part answer to that. So
Okay.
um, number one answer, first of all, is your entire book is keyword searchable on, for example, Amazon. So every single word of that book is keyword searchable. So when people are going looking for content and they type in a search in Amazon, if that keyword is within the content of your book will come up in that search as well. So I don't know if a lot of people realize that.
Okay.
But the second part of my answer is there are different ways that you can test things though too. You can simply go to Google and you can start playing around and you can type in different types of keywords that you think that you would type to try and find something, see what comes up below. And Google has this way as well that when you start typing in words, it'll give you kind of the top 5
Mm-hmm.
matching keyword sequences. So I always tell my authors, okay, when you type in yours and Google gives you the samples, I want you to take those 3 or 4 samples that Google gave you and run with them, because that's Google telling you these are the top phrases that people are searching for.
Hmm.
So Google will give you that answer as well.
Okay. All right. So part of it is, in fact, learning to use the internet.
Yeah, which is a lot easier than than some people might realize. It's so much easier now.
Right.
You know, there's a lot of things that are pretty user friendly now with Google and with all of these phones and stuff too. Like you said, I mean, I can't even imagine 20 years ago somebody asking me a question, oh, just a minute, and pulling my phone out of my
Right.
pocket
Right. Yeah. And getting an answer on top of
and
that.
getting an answer
Yeah.
instantly. I'm so smart now.
Yeah. Really. Yeah. Really. Okay. Let's move forward just a little bit because it's very definitely related, and particularly for folks my age, and we'll just say that I'm a little long in the tooth. Um, Social media marketing would scare the living bejeebers out of most people because they don't want to get on Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, Snap, because several reasons. One, they don't understand them. Two, they don't know how to use them. And three, sometimes there's some risk in being on social media like Facebook and posting information that may give the wrong people information about the fact that, gosh, I'm not home, or, my new car is sitting in the driveway and I didn't lock it, or, I mean, I'm just going over it. But how do you use social media? I'll just try that again. Social media in a positive or a financial manner that will help an author.
Yeah, exactly. And you know what? And those are valid concerns. And I, was raising a preteen and a teenager when Facebook really started to come out. So I definitely had those concerns and had to learn along with him so that not only I would learn from me, but I would parent him as well. And so what I can say about social media marketing, number one, I talk specifically about how to use these different social channels in my previous book, Successful Selling Tips for Introverted Authors.
Okay.
So I really specifically speak about it there. But to talk about that a bit here, I would say don't put personal information up. Never put personal information up, letting people know, where you are right now, and but there are controls in place as well that control whether or not people can tell where you are at the time. There's different things that you can, like for example on LinkedIn, you can indicate whether or not you want people to even see that you've seen their profile, or you can indicate whether or not they get updates if you make changes, and on with all of this different social media.
Mm-hmm.
So you can control it. With Facebook, you don't have to use your personal page. Your personal page, maybe you're sharing pictures and things with your friends and family, but you would set up a separate business page for yourself as an author, which is a different type of page, and you can post different things on there that have nothing to do with your personal page. So it's okay. There are different controls in place.
Okay, now you raise a question for me right there. An author's page on Facebook, as an example.
Yeah.
That sounds like, to me, okay, that's an advertising page, and you're going to have to pay for it.
No, it's free.
Okay, so you
Everything
can just
everything on these sites is free unless you choose to pay for it. There's the main platform of all of these: Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, LinkedIn. Those are the main ones that I use, and Google Plus. Those are all free, but there's different levels and different paid components that you can pay for if you want more functionality.
Okay, all right. And in your opinion, are some of those functions monetarily advantageous?
Absolutely. I use pay-per-click advertising on Facebook and occasionally on LinkedIn, because it just helps me to drill down a little bit more and reach a more specific demographic. Just because I've been doing this for a while, I know who my demographic is. So for the new authors, earlier in this interview, you said, some new authors don't necessarily know who are the people reading my book.
Right.
So maybe don't use pay-per-click for a while until you get to know who your audience is. For me, I do. So pay-per-click is fantastic. It's like adding igniter fluid to the flame.
Okay, all right. Another thing that you mentioned is that you are basically saying, and I'm going to paraphrase, if you
Yeah.
don't blog every day or send out something from Twitter every day, you're wasting your time.
You can, well, the blogging you don't have to do every single day. Blogging you can do about 3-4 times a week. Things like Twitter, though, I'll tell you what I do. I use another program called Hootsuite. So that's spelled HOOTSUITE, Hootsuite.
Okay.
And using that platform, you can set up all of your tweets and all of your things a year ahead of time. So what I do every November and December, I sit down and I figure out, what do I want to say to everybody for the next year?
Mm-hmm.
And I pre-program in a tweet a day. So on January 1st, February 1st, March 1st, so on the 1st of every month, this tweet goes out. On the 2nd of every month, this tweet goes out. So I only have to come up with 31 unique tweets, and I set them up that they automatically generate so that at least one is coming out, so that throughout the year, as different things are coming up, I'm maybe only actually physically on there tweeting maybe twice a week or something, but these other tweets are already coming, so it looks like there's a lot more people involved than just me. And that's the beauty of this T-shaped marketing. There's whatever question you have, there are tools in place that can help you and make it easier, and Hootsuite, just like the rest of them, free of charge. I use the free version of it, but there's different tiers of it. If you want more functionality, you can pay for additional tiers.
Right, right. Okay, and from everything that you've described, it would seem fairly blatantly obvious that, golly, maybe Kim Stafflin could help me do that. Do you offer that service?
My company has services to help with blogging and social media marketing and all of the different things that I talk about in this book. But I want to emphasize, because it sounds like, oh my God, this is an awful lot. And I know we're promoting T-shaped marketing for authors here, but I want to bring us back to the last book one more time, Successful Selling Tips for Introverted Authors, because in that book, I explained to authors, this only takes you 6 hours a week to do everything that I'm telling you to do. So basically pick an hour a day, 6 days a week. You even get a day off. And you can easily, I show you in that book, here's how it all works. And here's how you can do it in only 6 hours a week. Anybody can do that. Okay. Anybody can take an hour out of a day and do that. So it's not as overwhelming as it may sound as we're talking right now. But for the people that don't want to take that hour, then if you would rather, instead of spend time, if you would rather spend money, we do have people in place that can help with that. Okay. And if you don't want to spend money, then you know what? Here's a book, read this book, and it tells you how to do it yourself if you'd rather spend time.
As all else fails, right? All right, let's talk about having your book that's finished reviewed. And sometimes that's kind of hard to get done, because you've got to get somebody to review your book and then publish a comment that says, golly gee whiz, this book is just the most fabulous thing since sliced bread. How do you accomplish these things, Kim?
There's a lot of different types of reviews that are available. So there's your unpaid traditional book reviews, where you send a free copy of the book to whoever the relevant kind of book review editor is in your area. Right. That's not a guarantee. Those that you can imagine how many books they get at any given time, and it's at their discretion whether or not they're going to review it. So in this day and age, there are other reviewers out there as well. They're paid reviews, and you're basically paying, and I'll give you an example of two of the most popular ones right now in North America are Kirkus Reviews and Forward Reviews. These are two of the prominent paid reviewers. Okay. These are legitimate book reviews. So what you're paying for, you're not paying for a good review, you're paying for a guarantee that your book is going to be reviewed. That, it may or may not be a good review. And at that point, if it's a bad review, you can say to them, no, okay, don't post it online. If it's a good review, you can say, wow, that's fantastic, post it. And they'll either post it to their own high traffic website, or maybe they'll post it to Amazon for you, or wherever you need it posted. So it's like the difference between publicity and advertising, these different types of reviews. But again, all of these companies are in place now to help you to achieve that. And this is another kind of aspect of this T-shaped marketing that I talk about in this book.
You also mention email marketing. And this smacks of an author sitting in front of the computer, dashing off hundreds of emails. And how do you go about doing that in 6 hours a week?
You know what? Email marketing is amazing, and this is something that I've only recently adopted. I've indicated inside of my new book, another book that talks about email marketing in a lot of detail. And I recommend two people pick up a copy of this book. You can get it free of charge, and I've got a link inside my book of where you can read a copy of it free of charge online. And email marketing, no, it's you, first of all, I want to emphasize too, you're not spamming people. You're not just going out and sending emails to just anybody. It's you're getting people to opt in and give you their email address saying, yes, I do want to receive information from you. And once you receive that and you kind of build your subscriber list, you can send them one email a day, or you can send them 3 emails a week, or whatever. You'll kind of get an idea of what's going to work best for you or for your group. But really, I mean, an email, how long does it take to type an email to your friend to say, hi, how are you? And here's what's new in my life, 5 minutes. And you can put together any number of different things in these emails. And I talk about it a little bit in this book. You want to mix it up and try and make it a combination of a personal email. Let your subscribers get to know you as a person so that they feel like you're their friend, right? But then you want to mix that up, and maybe every third or fourth email you want to put a link to an e-commerce site where they can buy your book. So it's a mixture of things to keep them engaged with you. But it's one more component that you can add into that 6 hours per week easily.
Okay. And I guess the bottom line is really the next section of your book, that the author, as much as an author would like to think of themselves as sitting in front of the computer or typewriter, what's a typewriter? Have you ever seen one? Sitting in front of the computer. Actually, I learned to type on one a long time ago.
I did too.
Long time ago.
I did.
But one of the things that you are kind of taking some pretty strong comments at are that the author, when the book is finished, is not finished. They are not done by any stretch of the imagination. And an author has to become, if they're going to make anything more than send a copy to Aunt Jane and Uncle Billy and get wonderful comments back in their Christmas card a year later, you've got to sell this thing, and you've got to have to get out and be an entrepreneur. What do they have to do?
Well, first and foremost, I want to say to the people who are saying, oh, that's just how it is nowadays. In all of my books, in every one of my books that I've written, I've been saying to authors all along, because I've been in this business for over 20 years, and I've worked in trade publishing, and I've worked in vanity and hybrid, and I'm an author. So I've worked in all different areas of this. And I can tell you from firsthand experience that it's always been that way. You've always had to sell your own books. People have pushed back and said, no, that's not true. So in this book, T-Shaped Marketing for Authors, I come back now with some cold hard proof for people from the trade publishers themselves, from the Big Five, Penguin Random House, and who are the other ones?
HarperCollins,
Hachette,
Macmillan, Simon & Schuster.
Yes, all of them are coming out in this book that I've said, and they're basically saying the same thing. Look, we're only selling your book maybe for 3 to 6 weeks, and that's it. The rest of it is up to you. And I also have a quote from the Canadian Association of Publishers, or the Association of Canadian Publishers. I just got up to the page. They're saying the same thing. So this is not just me saying this in my books from my own personal experience. Now I've come back with proof from the trade publishers themselves to say to people, look, this is how it is. This is how it's always been. Authors are entrepreneurs. And so if you want to just write for the pleasure of it and you don't want to earn any money, then absolutely just write. There's nothing wrong with that. That's okay. But if your goal is commercial success, and if you do want to earn some money, you absolutely have to be a part of this process. It's always been that way, always will be. And so that's why I've made it my goal in life, because I know authors have to sell, I've made it my mission in life to teach them how.
And the name of your company is?
Polished Publishing Group.
PPG. And
Yeah.
I'm talking to Kim Staffland, a very pretty lady in Canada this morning that has published a new book called T-Shaped Marketing for Authors. Basically, what you're saying is write the book, then get off your duff and get to selling.
And I'm also saying it's easy. If you read this book, you'll see how easy it is.
Gosh, you mean we ought to have somebody buy your book?
Absolutely.
And where are they going to be available?
Well, you know what? This particular book is going to be available on Amazon Kindle only, which again, when you pick up a copy, you'll understand why. And this one, for a short period of time, is going to be free of charge.
Oh,
So
that's my price.
that's your price. And then once it goes back up, I'm going to be pricing it only $3.99 USD. So because this is a mini ebook, it's not as in-depth as any of the other large ones. I wanted to be able to reach as many people with this as I could, to give as much information as I could in this condensed file and make it available to as many people as possible. So watch for it. It's going to be coming out. It's already spring on Monday, isn't it?
It
Well,
is.
about 3 or 4 days after the first day of spring, this book will be available.
On Amazon. And again, the title is T-Shaped Marketing for Authors. Be free for how long, Kim? Do you know?
I believe their platform allows that it'll be free for 5 days.
Right.
And I haven't chosen exactly which 5 days it'll be yet, but just watch for it.
Okay. And the other thing is, if you'd like to contact Kim directly, do you want to give me an email? How would you like people to contact you?
They can go directly to the website, which is www.polishedpublishinggroup.com. And there's a contact page on there. And there's also links to where people can opt into our email campaigns, where we speak specifically about, and it's all free of charge, the information we're giving, in terms of if you want information about copyright, if you want to learn how to create a best-selling book, if you want help with finishing writing your book, there's all kinds of different email campaigns that we have going that's providing complimentary information to help authors with that.
Excellent. Kim, thank you very much for your time this morning. I greatly appreciate it. You're always fun to talk to, and the information is very, very helpful for anyone who has sat in front of a computer and pounded out a few thousand words. It's interesting. Incidentally, readers, I sat down this morning and read through an advance copy of this book in probably a little under an hour, as I was sitting here this morning getting ready to do this interview. So it's not a heavy read. It's easy to read. You can go back and reference it. And the best part about it is, if you get it in the next few days, you're going to get it for free. So you can't beat the price. Kim, thank you so very much.
Thank you. It's always a pleasure, Brent.
All right, and this is Brent Gill for Central Valley Business Times.